right, welcome back to this Monday edition of Focal Point on the American Family Radio Talk Network, AFR Talk. I am your congenial, convivial, and amiable host, Brian Fisher. Great to have you in the conversation with us. And speaking of congenial, convivial, and amiable, honored and pleased to welcome to our decision maker line Todd Starnes, good friend of this program, writes a daily commentary on Fox News Radio. It appears on Fox News Radio. His commentary appears here on the AFR Talk Network. Regularly syndicated columnist for Town Hall. Todd, welcome back to Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Brian, always great to hang out with you, sir.
Well, and Todd, I'm beginning to wonder. I mean, I like you, and I think you're a very nice person. But when I read that you had been banned by Facebook, I got to tell you, I was alarmed. I said, am I hanging out with, somebody that's got a background in the KKK? Am I hanging out with somebody who is subversive to American interest? I'm looking at the standards for Facebook, Todd, and here are the people they ban. There are bans on nudity, bullying, harassment, graphic content, pornography, and spam. And so I gotta ask you, Todd, explain yourself, man. You got banned by Facebook. What's that? What's the haps?
I know, and I've been put on many church prayer lists as a result of this news. For the record, and I want just to put everyone's minds at ease. I have not, nor have I ever been buck naked in public, no matter what Facebook may allege.
Well, and you don't bully anybody. You don't harass anybody. There's no graphic content. You don't distribute any pornography. Now, understand from what you've written on Town Hall here that you are guilty of spam. Now, explain that.
That's right. I was guilty of spam. We posted a wonderful recipe for fried spam sandwiches. It was quite tasty, and I do claim responsibility for that.
All right. Well, so tell us, Todd, why did Facebook ban you for 12 hours?
They did, and it was because of a posting that mentioned the NRA, Paula Deen, and Chick-fil-A, and the Gaither Vocal Band, and a Gideon's Bible. And I mentioned in my post that I'm about as politically incorrect as you can get, and I'm wearing my NRA ball cap, eating a Chick-fil-A sandwich, reading a Paula Deen cookbook, and sipping a 20-ounce sweet tea while sitting in my Cracker Barrel rocking chair with the Gaither Vocal Band singing Jesus Saves on the stereo and the Gideon's Bible in my pocket. Yes, sir, I'm politically incorrect and happy as a June bug. Facebook,
and so what you're saying, Todd, apparently that was the post that they reacted to and got you bounced?
Yes. Facebook took great offense to that message, and they said that it violated their community standards. And not only did they remove the posting, but they also imposed this 12-hour block or ban on Facebook.
Well, now it's interesting. You mentioned that, maybe to a lot of us, it'd be a surprise, some ally who came to your defense.
Shockingly, the Washington Post. Of all people, they wrote a blog about this, and they were like, "Well, wait a second, what's?" Because people who are on my Facebook fan community, and many AFR listeners are, I always remind people that, we believe in engaging in civil conversation. We like to have a lot of fun, but I just ask that people watch their language because we have a lot of ladies and young people on our website, and we want to be respectful. So I think everybody seems to find finding great irony in the fact that there are plenty of outrageous pornographic Facebook pages out there, which are just fine. But for me, because I mentioned the NRA and the Bible, were somehow deemed offensive and not meeting the community standards of Facebook.
Well, now, Todd, this is not actually the first time that you've encountered this kind of online censorship. I think you had something happen last year with Amazon, correct?
That's right, Brian. They suspended the sale of my book, Dispatches from Bitter America, because they had gotten complaints about the content. And this is a situation where liberals are basically ganging up and they're bullying conservatives on not just social networking sites, but also on places like Amazon.com.
Well, and you identified yourself in the subtitle of that book, Dispatches from Bitter America, as a gun-toting, chicken-eating son of a Baptist. So You're violating as many tenets of political correctness, and it seems like you're doing this deliberately, Todd.
Well, I'm guilty as charged. I'm sorry. I don't know if you caught us on that. We had the video posted from our Fox and Friends appearance where they actually had me bring in my Cracker Barrel rocking chair.
Now, it's interesting to me looking at Facebook. They said that after they had their change of heart because the Washington Post kind of got their attention and others, a member of our team accidentally removed something you posted on Facebook. Did you believe that word accidentally for 1 minute?
Oh, sure, Brian. Yeah, what they're saying is one of their low-level employees at their Cincinnati office was responsible.
Well, and, Todd, you pointed out, I'm looking at your column on Facebook. Did we just lose Todd? Okay, I think we just lost Todd there. Either that or he hung up on us, one or the other. But, Todd pointed out in his column on Town Hall that there are some Facebook websites that have these kind of titles. Blank Conservatives starts with F. You can fill in the blanks. That Facebook page is still up and running. Blank Mitt Romney, that starts with an F. You can fill in the blanks. Tea Party can kiss my boop. You can fill in the blanks there. Rush Limbaugh is an abject boop. So here are just 4 completely offensive, vulgar, profane-laced websites, Facebook pages that are still up at Facebook, and yet they bounced Todd Starnes. So fortunately, cooler heads prevailed, and he is back live on his Facebook page, and we thank him for taking time to be with us. And I don't know, maybe the NSA, and maybe the NSA took him out. They're monitoring his cell phone communications and heard who he was talking to and what he was saying. So who knows? NSA maybe has claimed another victim. Now we're going to be talking with Herman Eben at the bottom of the hour about a new program that's going to be starting on American Family Radio. And I want to take a couple of minutes in the time that we have left before the bottom of this hour to talk a little bit about this decision by the Supreme Court on gay marriage. We're going to visit this in more detail in the second hour. But the most dangerous thing, and Rob, maybe we can grab clip number 1 here, the Ralph Reed soundbite. The worst thing about the Supreme Court ruling, I mean, everything is bad about it, but perhaps the most sinister element of this is that Anthony Kennedy tagged every one of us who believe in natural marriage as bigots. He said the only possible explanation you could have for supporting the marriage as an institution between one man and one woman, the only possible reason you could have for supporting natural marriage is that you hate homosexuals. You hate gay people. You want to injure them. You want to damage them. You want to degrade them. You want to demean them. You want to disparage them. You have animus and hostility in your heart toward homosexuals. And we cannot allow this kind of institutionalized hatred to find a place in our society. So that means now every state marriage amendment is now at risk. We'll talk about this in the second hour. Michigan's already started this train of federal law. Michigan's had a federal marriage amendment since 2006, I believe, or maybe 2004. And they passed a law 2011 consistent with that the only spouses that are eligible for benefits, for state benefits, taxpayer-funded benefits, are those that are in a marriage relationship between one man and one woman. And a federal judge said, based on what the Supreme Court said, the only reason that law exists is because of animus toward homosexuals. So I'm going to strike it down. So he essentially just vitiated the marriage amendment in the state of Michigan. Now, Ralph Reed was talking here to Rachel Maddow yesterday morning, and this subject came up about Anthony Kennedy tagging everyone who supports natural marriage, everyone who opposes sodomy-based marriage, tagging them as homophobic, hate-filled bigots. And here is the exchange between Ralph Reed and Rachel Maddow. Let's listen.
David, I really can't let that go. I mean, this suggestion that because somebody wants to affirm the institution of marriage that they're ipso facto intolerant, by that argument, Barack Obama was intolerant 14 months ago. By that argument, 342 members of the House, 85 members of the Senate, including, by the way, Joe Biden, Harry Reid, Pat Leahy, who all voted for this law, and Bill Clinton, who signed it into law, were intolerant and motivated by an animus and a hatred for gays. Now, wait a minute. But we're talking about when Obama was 14 months ago. Was he a bigot 14 months ago?
Nobody's calling anybody
Was
a bigot.
Hillary Clinton a bigot when she took that position in 2008?
We're not talking about the ideological.
No, but to suggest that you are motivated by a hatred for somebody else because you believe that the foundation and culturating and socializing institution of Western civilization is something to be protected.
Can I tell you this? I got to say this.
Go ahead. So that's Ralph Reed saying, look, if you're a bigot, Anthony Kennedy says you support natural marriage, you're a bigot. That means Bill Clinton was a bigot. That means Barack Obama was a homophobic bigot until 14 months ago. It means Hillary Clinton was a bigot until about 6 months ago when she finally came out for same-sex marriage. All 85 senators, Democrats as well as Republicans who voted for this thing in 1996, they were homophobic, hate-filled bigots. All 342 members of the House, Democrats and Republicans alike, that voted for this thing in 1996, they were homophobic bigots. Now, Jeffrey Toobin in the New Yorker today, New Yorker's the one that had Ernie and Bert in a homosexual clinch on the cover of their latest magazine. Jeffrey Toobin writing about where the roots of this DOMA decision go, and it goes all the way back to 1986, midterm elections. Ronald Reagan had been reelected to a second term, but the Senate won 8 seats back in 1986 and took control of the United States Senate. Now, Lewis Powell Jr. resigned from the court in 1987, a year after the Senate had changed hands and come into the control of the Democrats. And Ronald Reagan nominated Robert Bork. Robert Bork was an ideological twin to Antonin Scalia. If you liked Antonin Scalia, if you like him, you would have loved Robert Bork. And Scalia was confirmed easily just the year before. But because the Senate was now in control, they led this rampage against Robert Bork, and he lost his nomination 58-42. Howard Baker, who was the White House chief of staff, he said to Ronald Reagan, you've got to accept the fact you need to put a moderate up there, and we got Anthony Kennedy. Anthony Kennedy wrote the opinion that overturned DOMA. Focal Point AFR Talk back in 2.